Hello, all. Thank you for joining me. Today, I will be making a coffee bean coaster. I'll be using what I call just the standard round coaster mold that's got a rim on it. I will also be using the J Diction high gloss epoxy resin. It is a 1-to-1. Some copper mica. I'll need a pair of tweezers. I will also be using some resin cured coated coffee beans. Now, if you didn't watch my last video, Don't Waste Resin, Plan Ahead, I do go over the method that I use to coat the coffee beans. Now, the first time I ever worked with coffee beans, I actually used the smaller of the trinket trays, and I put like a copper rim on it. And once it cured enough that I could pour some clear, I poured clear on it, added some coffee beans, let it cure a little bit, poured more cure, added some more coffee beans, let it cure a little bit, and then poured more clear. Now, because this mold is a little bit deeper than the round one, I will only be doing one layer of coffee beans in the round one. So let's go ahead and get this project started. The first thing I want to do is just pour a little bit of resin in here, kind of around the rim. I want to make sure the rim is full. Now, if it overflows a little bit, that's really not a big deal. So let me do that. Set that down there. Check for some bubbles, because I do see some in there. Let me go ahead and take this tool around the edge to try to pop and or release any bubbles. Because I have found out in this mold that bubbles are notorious to hug the sides of the rim. Now, hopefully we got all those. And now I'm going to strategically start placing the coffee beans. Now what I do like to do, if they'll fit, is I like to actually kind of snug a few coffee beans in the side. I mean, I'm not going to do a colored rim this time. I found that I really like the way it looks when I do a clear rim and tuck a few coffee beans in there. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm not tucking them hard. I'm not forcing them in there. And I'm doing like little taps in hopes to release any bubbles that may be underneath as I'm placing the beans. And I have something on my tweezers there. And it's up to you as to how many or how few you want to put in there. I know that this, or I believe that this particular coaster would make a nice gift for those people that you know absolutely love coffee. And as mentioned in my last video, there is a flat edge on the side of the bean that was on the mat as it was curing, and that's why I flip them up and down when I cure them, so that I can just place the flat edge into the coaster. And also mentioned in the last video, I am using two different beans. I'm using a dark bean and a light bean. Just strategically placing those. Then I'll go back over and, tap each one once I'm done placing the beans to try to release any trapped bubbles. Do make sure that your beans go underneath the rim of your mold, because what we'll be doing is, after this cures, is we will actually be topping it off, or I will be topping it off with the copper mica mixed in resin. And that's a little bean that'll go inside there. Let me see if I can grab this bean. It's fighting me. And I actually think that I do want a few more beans in there. I see a little hair. So let me grab some more beans. See if I can't get those placed. Oh, and I see a little bubble down here. Definitely have to watch for the bubbles on the rim. I'm not too sure if I've ever produced or made a coaster that doesn't have at least one bubble pit on the rim. I think I want to add just a couple more beans. Oops, that one flew away. Maybe one right there. Here's a couple that are together. And one right there. Again, it's up to you as to how many you want to add. All right, let me give them all a little tap. And now I'm going to add some more clear. I just want to make sure that I save enough room in this mold that I can add the copper without overflowing. And as you can see, they sort of spread out, so I'll reposition them. And set that down there. And yeah, they spread when I did that, but I'm going to go ahead and reposition them. And what I will do is, once I let this set to cure, I'll come back about every 10 minutes or so just to check for bubbles. Right now, I don't see any, but that's just for right now. All right, so what I'm going to do, let me go ahead and move this out of the way. And I'm going to let it cure until it's thick enough that I can pour the mica on it without it blending. So I'll just come check it every 10, 15 minutes or so for bubbles and to see how thick it is. And when we're ready to do that coat, I will come back to you. Okay, so it's been about 3.5 hours and the resin has cured enough. I mean, it's sticky, but it's cured enough that I think that we can go ahead and put the mica on top. So before I mix the mica, generally speaking, I will mix pigments or micas in a cup like this. And if you'll notice, I've already mixed some in there, but that was in the past. It's all cured and dried. I will use these cups over and over again until they can't be used anymore, as long as I'm mixing the same color in the cup that I'm using. And these little coffee cups, after I'm done with the cup, I will cut that out And the inside will already have a layer of resin on. So I can just put a layer of resin on the top, and then I have a sticker. And I do use these stickers. I'll show you a project that I did using this sticker at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and get our mica mixed. And it doesn't take a whole bunch of this copper, the copper mica. So I'm just going to put a little bit in there. If I need to add more, I will. Let me go ahead and move that stick out of there for a second. And scoot that for you. And get the resin poured in. Hopefully I mixed enough. I still struggle with measurements. Get all of that out of there. All right. Let's go ahead and give it a good stir. I don't know if you can see that. I mean, it really doesn't take a whole bunch of the copper mica. Let me stir it for a little bit. And let it set for a little bit and stir it again. Just in hopes to get all that mica stirred up and no mica powder floating to the top. Out of the way. And let me see if I can move this a little closer to you so that you can see it. Okay, so the next step is just pouring this in the mold and hoping that I have enough to cause it to dome without overflowing. Let me stop there for a second and let it kind of spread out without making a big mess. Let me use my handy dandy little tool for that. This is just like a dotting tool. Let's see if we can't get that to spread. All right, let's get the rest that's in this cup. Every little bit counts. And I will let this cut cure, and I'll use it again the next time I'm working with the copper mica. It's not quite domed. What I may end up doing is adding a little bit more after this cures. I don't think you want to watch me pour additional on there. We'll see what it looks like when it's finished. I'm gonna check this like every 10 minutes or so, just in case some bubbling occurs, which generally it does. But it does need to set for 24 hours, and then we'll do the demolding. So I will see you then. It's been a little more than 24 hours. Now we're ready to unmold. It is cured. So let's go ahead and unmold this coaster and see what we ended up with. Hopefully not a whole bunch of bubbles. Alright, so that is our coffee bean coaster. I probably should have added a few more coffee beans in there. And what I'll do is later is I will come back and actually put a clear coat on top of it to make it nice and shiny. You know, I mentioned earlier the little coffee cup pitchers that I will put resin on both sides and use them and make them into stickers to use for projects. Here's one of the projects that I've used the sticker on. It too is a coffee bean coaster, but and you can tell that one has been top coated. But I think that these coasters make a perfect gift for coffee bean lovers. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I also want to thank you for watching. Now my next video using rocks and resin, I hope you can join me for that. And please consider hitting the like, subscribe, and share buttons. Again, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.